If you're ready to buy or sell your home, then stop in at 4234 Market Street to let one of the agents at Howard Hanna Professionals help. Our friendly and knowledgeable agents can help you find the key to your dream home. Looking for a new career? Howard Hanna Professionals can help there too. Howard Hanna Professionals will assist new and experienced agents with the startup fees for an exciting career in real estate. Call Katrina Laurie at 814-726-2000 for more information.
Here at Casella, we make temporary dumpster rental easy, offering services that are perfect for construction, remodeling, special events, or other short-term projects. Casella dumpsters are available in a wide range of sizes to fit any job. Our dedicated customer service team will help you choose the right size container and service level for your project and schedule hassle-free removal based on your specific needs. The right size dumpster, when you want it, where you want it, removed when you say so.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Coffee and a Conversation. Brian Hagner with you here on your Daily Local. And our special guest this week, Ms. Jen Madigan, the newly named Executive Director of the soon-to-be forming Kinzua Area Discovery Center. I had a little trouble with that a couple weeks ago when we ran the story, but I promise I'll get that right. But Jen, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us and letting us know about this great new facility coming to Warren County.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for the support. It's truly phenomenal, the support the community has given us, and it is such an exciting opportunity, and the times are like there's just so much to be hopeful for, and there's a lot of work ahead, but there's a lot of hope and a lot of just opportunity for the community here outside of the, our immediate area and just families in general. So we're excited to share.
So it was last summer, right, that you guys kind of put out the survey about does Warren County want something like this and what would it look like? And a year later, you've got a property and are well on your way to raising money to build a facility.
We are. It actually just showed up in my Facebook memories last night that we had launched the surveys. The surveys were a year behind us now, and we've got a piece of property on Market Street next to the Schultz property. And we're onward. So the surveys helped us guide us towards choosing a location. We looked downtown. We looked at 8-9 places in the area that we looked at downtown, and we looked at things, and then we looked at the list of things that people were wanting to see us have or not have nearby. There was a couple comments, please don't place it near a bar. Okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's fair. Easy parking, easy in and out, access to grocery stores, gas stations, other things, free parking. That free parking came up. It's so frequent in there. So, we look downtown because we understand the potential importance of being downtown, but we also knowing that we wanted to call it something that was for Warren County, because while we were trying to choose a name, we just blanketed it with Warren County Children's Museum. So for people to feel like it's Warren County, the potential of it not being in the city also had some weight to it. And then along the way, we landed on the name Kinzua Area Discovery Center, but we are still considering it the Warren County Children's Museum and doing the thing. So we've chosen this spot, it's 2 miles outside of town. It's still on the public transit talk route, easy access, Walmart, grocery store, groceries at Walmart or Aldi's. You've got Arby's and Napoli's and
access to the hotel right there.
Yep. And access to the Audubon or other thing, the conservation district up Hatch Run. So there's accessibility to many things at this point. So we felt that and it's not next to a bar. And we hadn't really thought about that, but when somebody called it out in the survey, that's a valid.
Absolutely,
And there's not a lot of places in the immediate downtown where you can put it where it's not next to a bar.
You're either going to be next to a church or a bar if you're in the city proper. It seems like.
Correct.
And so you were telling me a couple of weeks ago when we were first talking about the property selection that you guys were actually looking over at the mall across the street and kind of glanced at the old, and this is the old Red Maple Inn for those unfamiliar or maybe more familiar with that signage, and you kind of glanced at it and didn't really think of it at that point.
We didn't.
So explain that process a little bit and how you came came back around and arrived
Sure.
at that as a location.
We did. We went up and we looked at the Kmart property. We looked at the Penny's property, not Penny's, Bonton property.
Right.
And there were just many reasons where they weren't conducive to what we were hoping to do. And yeah, we drove by the Red Maple Inn property that day and didn't think anything of it. And we didn't think anything of it for about 4.5 more months. And boy, did we feel kind of stupid when we finally did think about it, because we've been by it every day. And we drove by one night and my husband pointed over that direction and I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, it's been right here the whole time. But from the Kmart property, we went downtown. There's a lot wrong with that building, in case anybody.
Sure, yeah.
It had a natural water feature inside. It was.
I don't remember there being a water feature when it was Kmart.
Well, there is one now, and you can see through the building. So, we went and looked at properties downtown, down on the riverfront, right in town next to Music in the Park.
Yeah.
There's a couple properties there. We actually looked at 3 different properties to see if we could get them all adjacent to each other. And there was some water damage and some things that just weren't conducive there. And we've looked at some other ones, but when you look at the cost that's going to go into renovating it or retrofitting it or asbestos abating or those.
And that's really where you kind of get those costs can go way up.
Those costs go up so fast. And then you've got a landlord who may choose to end term your lease. And then what do you do? So through it all, we made some contact with the gentleman that owned the Red Maple Inn property. And that didn't happen. I mean, we had the conversation, but it was still a couple months before we actually put an offer in on it while we still looked at some other pieces. And then we started the process of negotiating a purchase price. And now we're going to be able to build to suit the exhibits that we've worked on and done the pieces and make it fit to tell our story and the story we're trying to tell for the county. So it's exciting.
Yeah. And I would think just the ability to build new and design it and build it in just the way you want it, so it matches the vision that you have. I think there's got to be a lot of positives to having that ability.
And we worked with RWS Global or JRA on the designs for the exhibits, and that was one of the early conversations. Are we using an existing building or are we doing a new build? Because that changes how our conversation goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so those very early on, our answer was, we don't know. And then as things progressed and they came here, by the time they came to visit for our first visioning session, we had the offer on the property had been accepted. We hadn't closed yet, but the offer had been accepted, so we could move forward with, this is what we're seeing.
Right.
And then that opened up the doors for what's going to go inside, because now we can go big.
The possibilities are whatever you want them
we
to
can
be.
go big
within the parameters of the property, obviously. But
sure.
Yeah.
But we've got 2.1 acres right there to work with. So we're looking to put a building that's roughly 30,000 square feet to give us 15-ish thousand square feet of exhibit space.
Sure.
And the central piece of that is the Allegheny National Forest. Like, we want to have this piece that brings in the forest, brings it to the inside with this climbing tree and skywalk. And that tree needs a 38-foot apex. We can't put that downtown.
No. Yeah, that's a little tall.
And we're going to be able to minimize elevator usage and those, we're going to try to go.
Well, it makes it more accessible. You can have more accessibility that way, even just beyond ADA compliance, I'm sure. Yeah.
And we've had someone call us out on, well, have you thought about building a small second story just for office space, like just for some of that back of house space, so then you've still got 30,000 square feet on the first floor? But we haven't started building it.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
there is some viability to that thought process to allow some more room on that ground floor for expansion, because while we're looking to break ground, we're also looking at what could happen in 5 years.
Right.
So
exactly. Yeah.
There's more to it than that. So being able to build, to tell the story from start to finish, it's a fun thought process.
So, and I know, and I've driven by a couple of times, and I've seen you out there on the mower already, making sure that grass is staying down. And it's nice, easy to.
Well, we want to just make sure once we closed, we knew we wanted to be a good neighbor. So we made sure we got up there within those first couple of days to go up and mow and just make it, so people realize that we're going to take care of it and we're not just here waiting until we do something. So we've got a few folks that are mowing or trimming or doing the pieces for us. And then if anybody's driven by and noticed, we have hung banners. We've covered up the Red Maple Inn property signs. And all image created as banners to, to say that we're coming. So there's a little bit of something to look at in progress. And
you give a shout out to my Aunt Kim who works over in all image.
I just saw her. Just 2 days ago. I was in for some more stuff for the parade. So, hi Kim. The banner was great. Cameron Energy helped us hang it, and looks kind of sharp when you drive it. That blue really pops. So just a sign of things to come. We are looking at having some sort of a get together, whether it's just for the board, because we do have a board of directors, but we're thinking that while we're there, just to get some activity on the property, have just a little, we're going to have a work bee sort of concept. But then do we use that as an opportunity to have the renderings and the things on site? So if you're driving by and you wanted to be like, hey, what's going on?
Right, yeah.
So we're trying to figure out what that looks like, but we do want to be active on the property and be the good neighbor and do the things. So we're trying.
And so, I mean, this kind of went from concept to survey to purchasing property. And I mean, this was less than a 2-year period, right?
It has been.
From the time that the thought of, hey, what about a children's museum was first spoken into existence, right?
So that first manifestation into the world happened in December of 23. And that was just a conversation over some lunch down at the Arbor House, and here we are. And it took it a while. Like we went through some phases then where it was, why not?
Right.
And when it came to us, it was brought to us on a much smaller scale, because at that point the Jefferson Tea House was for sale.
Right.
And why not turn a historic building into it? But I'm guilty of dreaming large. And so we started doing some research, because I was like, I don't think that space would be large enough for what we wanted to do.
And it's not really conducive for flow.
Right. For flow. And that was the starting point. And so we put together a packet to share with the Jefferson DeVries Family Center Board of Directors, because we needed somebody to back the project if we were going to try it. And so the JD Board of Directors was agreeable, and the JD has helped us to this point too. So they've been a major contributor to this point. And we voted. We would go through phases. We voted, and then we did interviews with, I've got a notebook full of notes, either from websites or Melinda's made some phone calls to other children's museums, and we had their, what are your do's, your don'ts, what are your, you wish you had, what are, I wouldn't do it again sort of conversations. And that's how we landed on the 15,000 square feet of exhibit space number, because these places that were in buildings in their towns where they used an existing space, we wish we had more space. We're landlocked. We can't do anything. Our customers wish we had an outside space. And we've known that since we want to do a nature theme, that we wanted some outside space, and we're going to be able to have that in that North Warren property. So it's just grown, and it's crazy to think what's happened. And just since those surveys went out last summer, and people haven't forgotten, because when we made the announcement that we closed on the property, there were people that were like, "Oh, we thought those surveys were just one of those things that we do," and then you never hear about it again.
And then it just kind of dies. And,
so it was cool to know that people felt that they had given value to their answers on those surveys, and they're excited to see that we're moving forward. So that's exactly what we're trying to do, and it's exciting. There's a lot of support from people. We've had a number of people come in and say, I don't have the dollars to give you, but I can help you stuff an envelope. I can help you bake the brownies. I can help you talk to the people. And so those people are going to be just as important to us.
Oh, absolutely.
As the folks that are going to be able to support us financially.
And speaking of that, I mean, the closing of the property seemed, kind of timing wise to happen at a good time, right before Warren Gives.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned you got quite a number of contributions through
We did.
that, directed specifically for the Discovery Center.
We did.
See, I did it twice in a row. I'm telling you, I'll get
Well,
that.
and I think that, the confusion with the development center,
Yeah.
I think once we become a name that
Sure,
people
yeah.
start talking about, I don't think we're going to have those confusions. And if you Google it, one comes up with the other. So if you type in the
Right.
wrong one,
Yeah,
you're still going
you're
to
still
get
gonna
both
get something,
choices.
yeah.
So we've tried it. We've looked at it.
Yeah.
So we did. We closed on the property on the 5th of May, which was right before Warren
Yeah.
Gives. And so we did a little campaign where folks could donate to the Jefferson to Free, since we were too new to be on the Warren
Right.
Gives list
Yeah.
ourselves. And they just needed to notate in their donation that it was for the Children's Museum. And we did the tally on it, and it was over $13,000
Yeah.
for the Discovery Center.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty good start.
Sure.
Long
Yeah.
ways to go,
Right,
but a
yeah.
really good start, and we're grateful for all those folks.
Mhm.
Some have sent us notes that they want to be of further assistance and do the
Mhm.
things. So making the friends at this point is
Right, yeah.
super important, and we're grateful for everybody that showed their support during Warren Gives. And it actually helped the Jefferson to Freeze. We had the highest number of new donors from last year to this year, so there was a little bonus in there for that. So it was
Yeah.
Warren Gives was just was really good timing to
Sure,
just
yeah.
kick it off a little
Right.
bit while nothing formal has been kicked off, but that was a fun
Mhm.
little, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna do this, and people are showing up.
Well, and you mentioned that, when we spoke right after you acquired the property, that the initial kind of cost estimate was 10 million.
Yeah.
And by that point, you'd already got that down to the
To
9
to
was
9.
a different. And so now you're well on your way to
We're
getting that
working
towards,
towards
an 8,
that. We're
right?
working
Yeah.
towards the 8. And so we're hoping to raise 7 million locally. And I get it. It's a
Yeah.
big number. It is a big number, but we're working through identifying some of those lead donors, some of those lead key players in it, and getting ready to make those asks of the
Yeah.
in hopes of those folks being the ones that are going to,
Mhm.
potential naming rights, potential, not to the facade, but
Sure.
to exhibits inside or
Yeah.
conference rooms. There will be naming right opportunities on the
Mhm.
inside. And so that's all. The capital campaign process is in a very formative stage.
Mhm.
And we're getting ready to ask those key players, and then, go from there. And we will be asking support from the community, whether it's from direct mailing or other sorts of fundraisers. At some point we will be engaging the community as well. So we're working our way, and I think we're going to, so often we're so used to fundraisers counting up. I think just to
Right.
help, just because
Yeah.
nothing here that we're doing has been done the way anybody else has done it.
Right,
I think
yeah.
we're going to count down. I think
Sure,
when
yeah.
we go, we've talked about what that signage is going to look like, and I
Mhm.
think we're going to count down
Yeah.
from that big number, so we can watch the.
So you'll kind of have the reverse thermometer, right, of the
Right.
United Fund, where they're just always going up, and you just want to just bring
Well,
it
because
down,
I think
which
we're
is good for summer, right? You want to
right
cool
for
it down.
to cool it down, and I think we want to tie a waterfall effect into it
There you
somehow.
go,
So we're
yeah.
going to fill ours.
Yeah.
Their thermometer's going up, but we're going to fill ours with.
Okay.
It's the
Yeah.
concept that's kind
There
of
you
on
go.
the table, or just something
Which ties
tied
right
in.
into exactly.
tied into the nature piece. So
And I assume that'll be starting soon. I know you guys had mentioned you'd like to, start groundbreaking and put shovel to dirt obviously as soon as you
as
can.
soon
but-
as we can. I mean, there's the as soon as we can,
Right.
and then there's the realistic.
Yeah.
Would it be amazing to say we can do it between now and fall? That would be stellar.
Oh yeah.
But that's going to require a pretty big yes
Sure,
in
yeah.
the very near future. Realistically, and for finance planning purposes and trying to do the spreadsheets and the business
Yeah.
model, we're planning for a spring of 26
Mhm.
groundbreaking. Well, obviously that is, if
Right.
amazing things happen,
Yeah.
then amazing things start sooner.
Sure.
So we're looking for a 26 groundbreaking, to be realistic.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. Well, yeah. You want to dream.
I mean, I've got my
big, dream big, but temper expectations.
Right. So I have been accused of being more of a dreamer than a realist. So I try to, and I've told people that the realist lives inside, and the dreamer is on the outside. So I'm going to sit here and we're going to talk the dream, but inside the realist is also in there going, "Hello, she's there."
We're groundbreaking next week, right? I mean, come on.
I mean, you find us the dollars. We'll go break ground when we're done here. Yeah. That's fine. It's so, and then that would put us at a late 27, early 28 door opening.
Well, because again, realistically, when you get into doing constructions and things, especially around here, a lot of things are weather dependent. And based on the spring that we just had,
you mean like the rainy season?
You're gonna have all kinds of water features if you try to build during that, right? But
right,
and it's winter and all that stuff. But again, it seems like at the very least things are on their way, and that's like we said, less than 2 years after even uttering the possibility of this thing being in existence, to be at this point in the process.
I mean, in transparency and honesty, there was this is a great idea, and yes, I want to be involved. And then there was we've had lots of these conversations about things, and so for the longest time, I was excited about it, but I kept it out here because I didn't. And then as time went on, and there was positivity from community and potential supporters, it kept getting closer and closer and closer.
Yeah.
We're connected now. I've bonded with it. It's all of the things. And that's kind of how the executive directorship came. Well, we need to hire someone. We need to do the things. And I had, back, do I, don't I? Because what about the childcare at the Jefferson Freeze? What about some of the other things that we had talked about futuristically there?
Yeah.
And then it just, one day I was like, I can't give it up for adoption at this point.
It's your baby,
right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I get it. I get it.
Sure. I mean, we're working with yours right now, right? Yeah. And I just, I couldn't see myself giving it up for adoption to have somebody else come in and tell the story while we've spent so much time with everyone locally and the folks with the exhibits trying to tell the story and portray what we've done, that I just couldn't let it be someone else.
Yeah.
So
you're at a point where you have to see it at least through to completion.
Through to completion. Yeah. And where we go from there, we'll talk about it then. But bringing it to life and having that opportunity to give back to the county that gave to me as I was growing up. Those words still feel kind of weird.
Yeah.
Especially when we look at the renderings and we look at all the things we want to do. I have caught myself in the mirror going, who are you and what are you doing? But there's so much. We have such a great community and such a great region that we live in, that it's heartbreaking to see, everybody's talking about the population decline and everybody's talking about the pieces. And we've got some folks that, here we go, catering to the tourists.
Yeah.
Well, but at the same time, those tourists that you want to complain about are the ones keeping us alive.
Yeah.
And it's, you got to have both. If we're declining in our population, but our tourism industry and our tourism spend is back up to almost pre-COVID numbers. So why, if they're coming, let's give them something.
You never know who you're gonna. Somebody comes in just to see, hey, we're gonna go check this out, and then they get to the area and go, I kind of like it here. Maybe we're thinking about coming here, relocate, and all of those things. I said to somebody a while back. It's like that process of you want to get those people that just come for a day trip, and then that day trip turns into a weekend, and then it turns into a week, and then
they've bought a camp.
Yeah, exactly.
Or a home.
Yeah. You got to, all of that's a process, and you got to start somewhere, and you've got to have that draw. And, this is one of those things that can be that draw that's year round, right?
Right.
So the outdoor recreation is phenomenal, but once winter hits, it's limited. Right? Like people aren't necessarily mountain biking right up at the trails in
because you can't get there.
January. Yeah, because you can't get there. And, or, it takes even more specialized equipment to do that. Whereas, like you said, you guys are going to be on a main thoroughfare that connects us to Jamestown and that whole Chautauqua County region, goes right into downtown. It's easy to get to. The roads are typically fairly clear, even in the winter.
11,000 cars on average go through that. Before you ever get to Hatch Run, before the light at Hatch Run, the 2023 numbers are 11,000 cars on average.
Yeah,
traveling by there. I mean, that's an impressive number when you think about it. But it is, whether it's winter or our recent Allegheny National Rainforest season. I can't take credit for that. If anybody knows, that came from Allegheny Outfitters.
Well, that's just shocking.
But we've always said we know that people come here, and I've worked with Casey at the Visitor Center and the Visitors Bureau, and the number of folks that come to us from Pittsburgh. So they're coming here to camp. That RV or motorhome or tent or whatever it is that you've brought up to Chapman or whatever campground you've chosen for the week, when it's rained for 6 straight days, Monopoly is draw 4 and Uno has gone way beyond okay.
Well, yeah, listen, there can be some brawls that last a lifetime when you start throwing out those draw 4s. I can tell you.
Yes, but this would give families something to do, whether they're local families, there's families in for a visit, but this is going to give, folks are going to come home for the 4th of July. They're going to be, is still, those are still hometown dollars. They've just moved on, but now we're giving people a reason to come back and visit. And it's just, our plans are to make it so you want to come back. You're going to come through it the first time, but keep some things changing so it has a different appeal, so you can come back 2 or 3 or 4 times in the year. Well,
and as we were talking before, the idea to renovate the ball fields up at the Farm Colony Complex, right? Now this provides even more onus for that development to happen because, now you're offering, for travel teams or Little League or whoever it is coming to play, we're going to do a weekend tournament. Well, now here you're in proximity to a hotel, and here's something you can do when your team's not playing, or if you've got
or you're the parent that has other siblings,
and they're getting a little cranky sitting at the ball field. Hey, let's go down and check out the Children's Museum, give them something to do. We're going to get inside, cool down, whatever. It just, all of that ties in together, and like you said, with the Audubon so close to the conservation district, right there, all of those things work together to make the region as a whole more appealing.
And that's, our thought process all along has been together, working together. We've chatted with the folks in Erie at the Experience Children's Museum in Erie. We've chatted with many other folks, not wanting to step on toes, not wanting to hinder what they're doing, but to enhance all of those things. So we can go to Erie can come to here. Like that's, it's just, we're going to have some of the same. We're going to have a water feature. They have a water feature, but our water feature is going to play off of the Kinzua Dam, the Allegheny River, the different pieces. It's going to feel a little bit different, but together and collaborating with so many people. There's been some conversation about the children's museums getting together across the state and creating some sort of a passport or something of the sort, if you go to them all, they're, and can we do that? I think we can do that just locally with our different, take your receipt to the Audubon, take your receipt to Allegheny Outfitters or Bent Run, or go for, any of the places for your $1 off or your different work together, whether we're in the city limits or we're just, a couple short miles out of the city, work with everybody in the community to make it a win-win the whole way around.
Oh yeah, there's so many. I mean, just regionally, when you think about all the things that are in the area, you talk about, oh, maybe you put a travel package together and you pay a price and you stay at the Hampton, and included in your stay you get a day pass to the Children's Museum.
Sure.
Another day you can go maybe to the National Comedy Center, and maybe the Zippo Museum's included, and all of these things are within short enough distance that you can say, hey, we'll stay here and go and do all of these things. And it benefits everybody, because we're not an island unto ourselves. And I say this all the time, right? I mean, even within the county, right? Like the city and the different townships and municipalities, nobody's going to grow independently of the other. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to work that way. And regionally, no one county is going to grow independently of another in these rural areas. You've got to find ways to work together and make it a regional approach to growth and development.
And when we look at our region, if we look at the PA Wilds region, there's nothing like the Discovery Center in the region.
Yeah.
And I travel a lot. I'm guilty of, going and looking at all of the things, but these places that you go to, so many of them offer those stay and play packages, or you can do this. Here's your weekend, or, oh, here's the fall foliage tour. And while you're in there checking out the Kinzua Dam, you should have, stretch your legs at the Discovery Center and do the things and get your bite of pizza over at Napoli's or whatever. There are people that, the influencers and the bloggers and the people that are marketing for Route 6 or the PA Wilds or any of the different, even the Lumber Heritage. Why do so many people work so hard to work against other people when all we want is to do well for our immediate area? And you're right. It's a region. We can do it and we can grow together. And there's no harm in a small amount of growth to better the community within which we live.
So we've kind of touched on the edges a little bit of what we expect to see once this thing is constructed and up and running. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll get into the nuts and bolts and really explain what the vision is for what this Discovery Center will become. So we'll be right back with more Coffee and a Conversation right after this.
If you want to enhance your skills or gain an entirely new skill set, now's the time to register for classes at the Warren Forest High Ed Council. Registration for the 2025-26 Youth Leadership Program for students in grades 6 through 8 opens on July 15th. Make 2025 the year you take the next step with an Intro to AI course, Marketing Made Simple seminar, First Aid and CPR training, and a food safety course. Go to high-ed.org or call 814-723-3222 now. Founded in 1978 and headquartered in Warren, Pennsylvania General Energy has become a leading oil and natural gas producer in the Appalachian Basin. PGE is a proud and growing organization making positive contributions to the region's economy and environment. We are equally proud of our commitment to safety and environmental programs. PGE is a strong, family-oriented company that believes in giving back to the communities in which we live, work, and play. PGE, producing the energy we need, protecting the environment we treasure.
Get him! He cannot! Caleb Jacobzak! Gonna go 90!
High school sports aren't just games, they're the heart of the community. And now, your Daily Local is giving our high school athletes the spotlight they deserve. With dedicated broadcast teams and reporters covering each school, we're bringing every play, every highlight, and every unforgettable moment straight to fans. Now your business can be part of the action. Sponsoring local high school sports means more than just advertising. It means connecting with thousands of students, families, and fans who love this community just as much as you do. With live broadcasts, social media promotions, website features, and more, your brand will be front and center during the biggest moments of the season. Don't miss this opportunity to showcase your business and support our local athletes. Sponsorships are limited, so act now. Join us in making high school sports bigger than ever. Contact us today at sales@yourdailylocal.com or call 814-688-6810 to secure your spot.
Welcome back here to Coffee and a Conversation. Brian Hagberg with you on Your Daily Local. Our guest this week, Jen Madigan, Executive Director of the Kinzua Area Discovery Center. And we spent the first segment kind of talking about how we got here and what some of the plans are. And we kind of teased a little bit about what the concepts are for some of the exhibits inside. So let's dive in a little bit and explain some of what the vision is for when those doors open, and even from before you open the doors, when you're outside in the parking lot, even what some of the ideas are for some of the exhibits and how things are going to flow once you're outside.
So we want the experience to start once you are in the parking lot. So we've got some pieces. I could show you the rendering, but we have butchered it since the rendering was made. So we want the experience to, once you got there, there's that, oh, we've arrived sort of thing. And there's your social media, Instagram worthy sort of moment. But it all comes from, everybody comes here for the outdoors.
Yeah.
But we know that there are people that they don't want to get dirty. They don't want to whatever. It's raining, it's snowing. It's how do we educate people about the things that we know and love, and we know it's gorgeous, and we know it's all of the things. So we've got the Allegheny National Forest, we've got the Allegheny River, we've got the Kinzua Dam, and all of the things that flow on either side of that, or the pieces. So the Eagles play a really key piece in this, and it didn't, when we started with that visioning conversation with JRA that I mentioned earlier, we were all over the map, and that was a great day. They came in and asked us questions, and there was a whole wall of sticky notes where they picked up on things that we didn't, like we said them, but it struck them differently. So there was a whole wall of sticky notes of all of our thoughts. And when they went back and started piecing together what we talked about, there was a theme that we didn't realize was there. And so that's how we've brought the Allegheny National Forest and the surrounding areas inside is our thought process.
You mentioned the eagles. I mean, just, in the last 25 years, the bald eagle population in the area has just exploded. I mean, I remember the first sighting, I'm pretty sure I was a teenager at the time, and people were going crazy. Oh my God, there's bald eagles here. And now it's like I almost hit one driving home from TDU a couple months ago. And that was the second time that's happened.
Right.
I was, and that's just in the time since we moved back, oh gosh, wow, 8 years ago now.
Time flies.
Yeah, tell me about it. But I mean, you see, I stood in my backyard and seen them flying around, and that didn't happen.
It didn't happen, and that's
until recently.
We drove over Yankee Bush the other night, and one flew over on the top of Yankee Bush. One flew like right in front of the car. I was like, "Hello," but that's just it. The eagles kind of very nonchalantly came in to be an integral piece of the story. And when we started sharing it with JRA and, why are the eagles important to you? And I kind of, similar to what you just said, I can remember, well, as a kid, we would drive out the backside of the dam and we would go looking for eagles. And so I got my eagle eyes very literally very early on. And, that's been many years. We won't talk about that. But
not important.
It's not important. But then my nephew came along, and one day he asked my dad, he's like, "Grandpa, why do you always get so excited?"
Yeah.
Because when I was your age, there was maybe 1, 2, and you rarely saw them. And now, my dad lives on the Conowongo, so he lives for those moments where it flies up and down the creek. It's just those things. And there's a nest not far from here, and there's that one in Chandler's Valley. Like I look at it every time we go through, and
I had one. I was coming up Hatch Run, and it went from that little bridge right behind the mall. It went across and was down in the trees right on the back end of the mall along the creek there. And,
there's a nest in that near area, and there's even from Russell to where my parents live on the Conowongo, there's 3 nests, I think. But and that's just you went from a time 40 or more years ago where there was 2, and now there's many different nests. And so they just kind of, and they found their way into our logo, and that's kind of how it. So the eagle is going to be the mascot per se on the outside, and also on the central hub on the inside. So once you've seen the Eagle's Nest concept on the outside of the building still stands. We've just changed where we think the Eagle's Nest is going to be on the outside. But that's where we've arrived. This is the look at the whimsy. What you're going to see. Once
you've done your obligatory social media post outside,
you're and it's going to start outside, whether it's a chipmunk bench or it's the whimsy is going to start on the outside, and then you're going to walk in, And the focal piece is going to be this tree climber with a skywalk and pieces that's going to be in the central part of the museum. And there's the Allegheny National Forest. No matter where you are, you're going to be able to see that tree from within the Discovery Center. And where it's not just there to climb on, you're going to be able to learn the things. There's going to be hidden holes and nests with, informational cards, and there's going to be magnifying glasses, and maybe there's going to be footprints, where we're going to identify the bird tracks. We're going to identify the raccoon's feet. We're going to, and areas of discovery the whole way up. So while you've got your 35-foot, 38-foot tree that you're going to be able to climb up and through, there's going to be holes, the kids can climb through the trees. The littles can toddle on the ground, and then as they grow up, they can go up the stairs and up to the skywalk. The skywalk will be fit for parents as well. So, it's not just
look, I'm not going to lie. I look at some of these renderings and I'm like, I kind of want to go play.
And I think that'll be we'll make sure you're there on the friends and family night that gets to come in and see it before we open. So, but it's going to be for all ages. So if you've got a 2-year-old, but you've got that 10-year-old too, that can, the 2-year-old can toddle down over, just like your smaller forest creatures. And then your 9 or 10-year-old can be up climbing through the trees and doing the pieces. And potential, the latest conversation and design process is for there to be an eagle's nest that might be accessible from the skywalk that actually goes outside. It's kind of a fun conversation how that all transpired. You get some creative people in the room, and you have to redesign something for whatever reason. Those conversations have been amazing, because I don't know anything about building a building, and I don't know anything about building the exhibits, but I got lots of thoughts.
Sure, I got ideas. Wouldn't it be cool if we did?
And then those two components play out back and forth off of each other, and all of a sudden you're sitting there going, "Oh, that was kind of cool." There's goosebumps in the room. There's, and so the forest will be the central piece, but it's also the Allegheny River was also important to us. So in some way, there will be an Allegheny River or a river that will run through the whole experience. And we're not talking running water.
It's
going to be
mentioned like different carpeting or ways to incorporate that
lighting or something that's going to. And when you look at the design of the floor plan, there is a river that just meanders its way. It winds around. And different things happen within the bends of the river, just like they do here. And it's going to take you from section to section and go from there. So, and that's kind of the fun part. So the nature, we're using nature as to learn, to play, to grow, to discover all of the pieces. And then that's going to be the central part. And then we've got 4 key components that are going to come off of it. We're going to have a create area, a share area, a play area, and discover. And we're gonna pay homage to many different things with how we got here, but also that create area is also going to help us pay homage to where we are right now as far as our industry. Like that's where we're looking to put a maker space that's going to have some of those things that can help you with mini CNC machines, mini lathes, sort of, that we can help some of those job skills or job discovery thought processes with industry. And I mean, in addition to that makerspace is just going to be you get to come and here are the Legos galore. Here are the building blocks. Here's the cardboard and the duct tape. And today you get to make whatever you want. So, it's going to be a true space for making and tinkering, because we're toying around with the idea of the tinkering treehouse for that area, just to stick with the theme. But a spot for kids to just, it's okay to make a mess. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to
get a little dirty.
Well, we've actually, somebody asked us if we were going to have 2 maker spaces, one where you've got your expensive toys, 3D printers, but then a spot where you can actually get dirty and you're going to have your exploding baking soda and
you probably don't
paper
want to put
mache.
those things together.
You probably don't. Like that was a really good conversation. So how do we'll figure that part out, but all of the things. It's okay to it's fun to get, and we do our best learning when we don't realize that's what's happening.
Yep.
So we're going to play, we're going to learn. And we're not talking just the 3, 4, 5-year-olds. We're talking, the teens, the adults. I mean, for us, it's really some children's museums really strive to have that coffee and internet rest area for parents, grandparents, whoever's there. But we're going more for that. It's going to be a family engaging opportunity. Like we want the families to be a cohesive unit and learn together. So it's, did you just see? Right. And then there's the laughter, and then there's that moment, and it becomes the core memory and family bonding. And we're going to incorporate technology, and there's going to be pieces. But if this is, the 3 hours out of your day where the adult is not glued to their phone, or the child is not glued to their tablet or their whatever, and they're hands-on and tactile, then that's a win for them. Sure, it's a win for their future. It's a win the whole way around. So, it's so when you come in the door, the tree's going to be there, and it's just going to kind of have a circular pattern off of that. We will have a spot up front for lunches, whether that's a lunch. So you're going to be able to pack your lunch. We're not going to have a cafeteria on site, at least not in this first section, first phase. We're not bringing in a kitchen, but we're going to provide the space where you can pack your lunch. You can go in there.
Kids come on a field trip, and
it'll be a spot for them to gather right there with bathrooms nearby too. So it's when the kids are loading off of the bus, the kids can go do their lunch and their bathroom things. The administrator can go out to the cashier and take care of paying for it and all of the pieces. And it's not a crowded lobby. Right. So we've kind of taken our field trip experience from the Jefferson DeVries Family Center childcare section. And if we could do it differently, like that was the conversations as a teacher, what do you want to see different on your field trips? And so we took some of those pieces and, we use that through some of the design process. But that will be a spot where bring in your own lunch. Totally an option. We're going to look at some potential vending machines for just some basic snacks, drinks sort of concept. And then we've had a lot of conversation recently about the opportunity for a food truck potentially that could be, in the parking lot on the busier days that you can go out to, so you don't have to leave to go over to Arby's. You weren't planning to stop, but you stopped. So now you don't have lunch.
Right. Yeah.
But now there's a food truck that's going to sell kid-friendly things like chicken strips, chicken fingers, hot dogs, whatever, something that's going to be a conducive family meal. To still have that opportunity so you don't have to leave.
Right.
The property.
Well, eventually somebody's going to forget something, and you got to have that. Oh, you forgot X, Y, Z. Okay, here we have some.
We have some of those things, and that's part of that working together. We had a kitchen. That's a whole level of expense and inspection and things where we could work together with the people that are already doing those things. Right. And we know that every Friday, Mother Clucker's food truck's going to be out in the parking lot, and you're going to get your chicken fingers there. Something like that. That's where we're trying to think about going with that, where we can collaborate with as many people as possible while still offering that. But that doesn't fall into the scope of what we're trying to do inside and take away from the story, at least in this early, does it look different in 5 years? I don't know.
Well, that's what you said. You want to give yourself room to grow, right? And if you find in the first few years, all right, hey, we really need to have cafeteria or some kind of food service available, you've got the option to add that later on.
And I've been to some places where they've got some great cafeterias. And I've been to some places where here we are buying the $12 pizza and it's awful, so we know that we don't want to do that. So to be able to focus on the main part of what we're doing, we're not going that way right now. We'll see what everybody has to say, in 3 to 5 years from the time the doors open, and we'll go from there. And maybe the food truck thing is really working, and
maybe it's not. We'll see.
We'll figure out what's broken and fix it later. But right now it's not built, so it's not broke, so we can't fix it. So we'll work on it. But then you're going to move from there into the farmers market sort of concept.
I love this concept, by the way. I mean, just the way it ties in specifically to our region with the farm to market to table. It really, I think that's a phenomenal piece to add to this and really get kids to understand where their food comes from.
Well, and so we've had some great conversation with the ladies at the Conservation District, and one of them is very much about where does your food come from. So when it comes time to, we've got these renderings, and we know that this is just the beginning, and these renderings some of them are going to change a little bit as we go into the next phase. But the importance of that, where does our food come from? It doesn't just come from Walmart. It doesn't, well, we'll just go to Walmart and get, but the kids at lunchtime at Jefferson Jeffries, pickles and cucumbers, they're two different things. Yes. However,
kind of
that pickle started as and they will argue with you over it all day long.
Yep.
And
my kids I'll cut up a cucumber and they're just, I give them a pickle and they're like, it's just a cucumber. It just tastes different.
But the kids that don't understand that it started as a cucumber and became a pickle. It's kind of like the whole squares and rectangles. And
explain to them what a raisin is and really boil.
Yeah, right. That's not a grape. It's dried up. Did you hear yourself? It's and having that outside space. Will help. Even if it's just a small space that we can grow some basic things to help with that farm to market to table sort of concept, that we can do the things, because when you finish making your circle around the inside, there's going to be a teaching kitchen. And so if we can tie in that, well, you've been through the spot over here where you're going to go from farm to market to table. Well, we can go outside and pick the lettuce or the beans and bring it in. And this is what they look like before they end up on your plate.
Plant an apple tree and go pick some apples and make a pie or something.
Right. And that's, so there's going to be some apple trees in the farm to market section. There's, to simulate the apple picking in that section, we're going to have maple trees to simulate maple tapping, the apple trees, and then also a chicken coop. So they'll be able to collect the things, and they're not real apples or eggs. We're not making a mess. Ball play sort of concept. But then the farmer's truck is going to be right there. So after they get the eggs, they can go and sort them. And then around the bend there will be your farmer's market. So now you're going to be able to go to the market. You're going to be able to buy the things to make the apple pie. And then the felt pieces will be there to assemble the apple pie and do the pieces. So, the grocery store concept is what happens so frequently at children's museums that we knew that we didn't want. You want the grocery store experience, travel to Erie because they've already got it. So let's do something different.
Well, and then you can say, okay, here we're kind of simulating all of this, but from June until October, hey, on Saturday morning you can go down to the actual farmer's market and see how it actually works and go to all of those things.
And I think that's another one of those collaborations that will be, how do we work with the farmer's market? How do we make that come to life? Right. Is there those are conversations between us and the farmers, I suppose, at that point when it gets a little bit, but how can we work together to make that come
have them
to life?
Come up and give special presentations. Right. I mean, all those kind of options are available to you, and the possibilities really are endless.
I think so. And I think that those possibilities, whether it's the farmers or it's a beekeeper or it's the folks from the Kinzua Heritage Festival, where they come in and we do some of those heritage weekends or history weekends, or I think that's part of how we keep you wanting to come back, because we're going to have the beekeepers going to be here, or the state park's coming in to make maple syrup this weekend, or there are so many, the Army Corps of Engineers is coming in to talk about what's really going on in the water feature and how it resembles what's going on at the dam.
How they determine how much water they're going to release at a given point and all of that.
And that's educational. Again, there's going to be something there for the kids to engage, but then potentially it's information that the adults aren't familiar with. So you're learning, no matter where you are, it's a learning process for everyone. So that where your food comes from is mind-boggling. So we know we want to do that and offer that experience. And then the river just bends from there into the lumber section, because lumber was something that was important. That's, you go back far enough in Warren County history, you're going to start hearing the lumber stories and the tales. So we want to pay.
We actually had Ellen Paquette during the Four Flags ceremony this year was talking about some of the lumber and how they use the river and the rafting. And she has relative, great grandfathers and stuff that were on the boats.
And I think that's, when we think of boats, we think of, we're going to go get in the boat with the motor on it and we're going to go do the things. But for the kids to understand that logs didn't always travel by that truck going down the highway. It wasn't always that scary scene from a movie.
Generational trauma activated.
We've all been there. But they were floated down the river, and that's okay. Yeah, it's a long time behind us, but it's still there are still problem solving skills, and there are still pieces to that it's important for the kids to see how that happened. And so there will be sections in there with cranks and pulleys, and they'll be able to manipulate logs to build things. And there is a section where there'll be some sort of a lumber conveyor to help, make it look like you're floating the raft and doing the pieces to just help tell that story. We want to make it as hands-on as possible with, there's still going to be those reading opportunities and the signage and the pieces, but we don't want it to be a sign-heavy experience. We want it to be a
hands-on,
interactive, immersive, hands-on with the addition of the text and the pieces. And then off of that back side of where we're looking at now, there will be an outside section, and that's going to pay homage to our oil and gas industry. We have Cameron Energy is donating. I don't know if it's Cameron Energy or if it's actually John Stewart himself. So if I misspeak, I'm sorry. Someone is donating from there is donating an antique oil rig to us. And so we're going to tie that into what we're calling Pipeline Path and be able to share some of the history and potential for QR codes to bring in that technology piece so people still feel like they're connected. Videos of what it's like. We've had some conversation with John Stewart about being able to shoot some video out at a fracking site or, to tie in, this is what it will look like then. And then we've gone around the path and this is what it looks like. This is how they do it today. And have the sights and the sounds over the course of it. So that will be an outside piece, but we do know. And
again, another thing in the region that you can tie with the Drake Well Museum and
Absolutely. And so it's just, we don't want to get too detailed on it because they've done a really great job at Drake. I mean, if people haven't been, it's a beautiful museum and they've done a really good job of telling the story, but we can tell the story as it pertains to Warren County and feature some of our local Warren County businesses and leaders in the pieces. But whether it's there or it's on your way out, well, now you can go learn more about A, B, and C at these places. And, some sort of collaboration with Drakewell is absolutely in the notes because we don't need to tell the whole story. We just need to tell, we just need to get you excited about it. And then you want to go learn more. Titus was not that far. You can go take a ride on the train. You can go to the museum. You can, again, and now we're regional. We're outside of our own county, but still working together. So I think it's an important piece. The other important piece is that the Seneca are important to the Seneca Nation is important to our history. And yes, that story can be controversial and it can be dark and it can be, or we can celebrate it for, it's everybody has their place. And without the Seneca, we don't have a story. And that's just so one of our next conversations needs to take place in Salamanca or here, but we need to go introduce ourselves and shake hands and make friends with the folks at the nation because we want to share their story as well. We've got a spot where during that initial planning meeting, we talked about outer space, and outer space was really important to us. But then as the rest of the story fell together, those things that were really fun and fabulous didn't fit into the forest. It seemed kind of weird to be spacewalking while you've got this 35-foot tree.
You can't tell the story of the forest without the Seneca Nation.
Right.
I mean, you just can't.
You can't. And so as we started talking about that outer space piece, the conversation turned to, what if we use the sky, the night sky, as an extension of nature?
Yeah.
And then that's when the light bulbs went off of, but then that's how, one of the ways we can tie in the Seneca stories is tie in the night sky with their tales through the constellations. So now we can talk about constellations, night sky, dark skies, all of the pieces in a fun, interactive. So there's a spot where there will be dark sky, and we can project the constellations and the different pieces and tell their different tales. But that part of it, that is a dream, that is the pieces, but we have to get their buy-in to make that happen. So we need to go make those relationships and start those conversations, because I think it's a phenomenal piece to what's going on. And I don't think that I think it's a vital piece of the story we're trying to tell.
Absolutely.
So, and then you go from there into the Allegheny River adventure, where we've got the water feature.
Right. The actual water.
The actual water feature, the real one, not the one in the Kmart building. We're not looking at an actual water feature, which that river that runs through the whole piece, that's when you look at the carpet squares leading up to it, it connects right into the water feature and it comes around. Is there potential in the design for that water feature to go outside in the future? It is likely that we're having the conversation to put a plug and a valve on that outside wall. So 3 years from now, when it's time to grow a little bit, it could potentially go outside and expand what's happening there. So, but upper reservoir, the big circle that a lot of people don't know about up on top of the hill, we're going to have the big circle. We're going to have the Casey Bridge, whichever name you want to use for the bridge, the bridge out by Wolf Run. And there's going to be the dam where they're going to be able to lift and lower the gates, and the islands downstream in the river where they're going to be able to divert the water to one side or the other. And there's going to be a fun little pop-up bubble where the kids can climb up underneath it, and then you can stand there and spray your kids in there with water. They're not getting wet, but they don't, the thrill of,
there's just something about being a parent and spraying a kid with a hose or something.
Right? It's just, and they giggle and they do the thing. And again, those core memories have been activated, and there's the laughter and that family time that you can't, there's no price to put on the things that happen when you have those positive experiences together. And we're looking at a boulder ridge, a Jake's Rocks sort of concept, where you'll be able to, that's going to probably be a Goat Fork collaboration, because it's going to be some sort of an indoor rock climbing, but then there's going to be a ledge where they can see into other parts of the museum and do the pieces, and it's just bringing that outside in. Will there be signage that plays off of some of the National Forest and State Park signage? I don't know. We've probably got to get permission for that. So we'll have those conversations. And then the other piece is a theater. Not a big theater, just a small theater for some, basic dramatic play. So the kids can come in and pretend to be whatever costumes are there. They can do their things, but a space that is multi-use. So we could have a screen or a projector or a large TV for the projection, and we could share videos about.
Or if you had somebody coming in for a special presentation, a place where they can stand and be in front of an audience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Something that's multi-use. So many possibilities. And then the real big technology piece we're looking to tie in is in that same space where you'll be able to come in and you'll be able to color. Like, you'll actually get a sheet of paper with your forest creature on it. Maybe it's a lightning bug, or it's a raccoon, or some things that we're going to see in the nighttime forest. And you're going to color it. It's going to get scanned in, and it's going to go up into the projector, and the projector does its Willy Wonka magic. And it ends up on this nighttime forest projected onto the wall, and it comes to life. And so it takes lifelike, the deer is going to actually be weeping and doing the things, but the kids are going to be able to take their picture up to the wall. This is what they colored, and here it is, Mom.
Look,
there's mine.
There's my picture,
And then the first kid of the day gets the joy of being the first project on the wall, and then they stay there all day until we shut it off tomorrow tomorrow you start fresh again. But so it'll be there
Yeah.
the whole time the kids are there. And, you know, we want to incorporate some of those technology pieces, but not have it be
Right.
the forefront of what we're, you know, because
it's not the focal point. Yeah.
we had some AR conversation. We had some VR conversation.
Yeah.
Why are you trying to take people out of the space that you've created?
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
yeah.
Thanks for the check. Like that,
Sure,
you know, we want to bring the technology in, but at the same time, we want people to still be engaged.
Yeah. You want them to be present where they are. Yeah. So.
And then it just goes, you know, we're going to have a gift shop.
And then you hit the gift shop on your way out and call it a day.
And each of the areas, each of those zones will have their own mascot. So, you know, you might follow the firefly through a zone. You might follow the chubby cheeked chipmunk through a zone. You'll probably also find them in the gift shop on your way out.
Yeah.
That the nighttime forest technology is probably going to have some black light sort of concepts to it. So there'll be some things just trying to tie it all together. And there will be a space for some story time. You know, and just the gift shop again becomes a spot where we can work with other people. I think one of the things that really spoke to me was the class down at TDU that just wrote stories as part of their class project.
Sure.
And one of them was a story about the Allegheny River. And I was like, that would be a fabulous, you know, how cool would that be to be a 7th grader?
Sure.
And your book is for sale in a
Right.
gift shop somewhere. Like that's cool.
Yeah. And we just had Tom, you know, just
Tom,
released her
absolutely.
book. It would be a great place to and it would fit perfectly with everything else that you're trying to do.
You know, and just be local and collaborative. And we're going to have those things that you're going to have to get out of the catalogs for gift shops because you just can't.
Yeah.
But artists, I think that there's, you know, we've talked about the possibilities of is there room for an artist in residence? Is there room for maybe not up front while we're still trying to figure the first things out, but you know, does that happen in years 3 to 6 as we start? You know,
once you get a better feel for how things are going to flow and what kind of things people are going to be drawn to. Yeah, absolutely.
You know, the Ainsley from Erie, she's been great to work with. She's been, we sat and talked about the business plan. We've worked with Strategy Solutions out of Erie, and Ainsley's worked with them to help with, you know, if we look at the Jamestown and Warren region, we're about 60% of the Erie population. So we've really been able to use their numbers, 60% of their numbers to kind of guide us.
Sure.
We've had some questions. Well, is Jamestown really that influential? I just saw some numbers, some tourism numbers, that 46% of the folks that come from within 50 miles are coming from Chautauqua County. Yeah. So I think that's
absolutely. That's well, and again, like you said, with it being right on that main, you know, that main thoroughfare between the two, is probably going to contribute to that as well.
And that was when we started looking at that Red Maple property. I was at Aldi's one Sunday, and the number of New York State cars in the parking lot blew my mind. Yeah. So they're already coming here for a couple different reasons, whether it's the tax break or it's the minimum wage price break or whatever. They're already coming here. So why not invite them to stay a smidgen longer? Yeah. So, and then we'll have an outside space, and that has yet to take some shape because we were focused on all of the other things and need to figure out for sure how big that outside space is going to be.
You got to see what you're going to have available and how you can work it all in.
And, you know, there might be some other potential because the property next door is for sale right now. So.
I noticed that the other day when I drove by.
Too much, but it is up for sale.
Yeah, it's got to be tempting at least.
It's an extra. It's another acre and a half.
Yeah.
So the 5-year possibility over that thought process. Yeah. We had it well before the house was up for sale, but I mean, because we've had those conversations. But we're just trying to be mindful that we're not going to lock ourselves in. There will be some space within the museum that is reserved for traveling exhibits or a rotating sort of thing. That maybe it's a seasonal thing. Maybe it's, you know, so many of these museums have traveling exhibits that you can sign up for a quarter. Yeah. You know, something. So there is something fresh inside at all times. And then that kitchen we didn't really talk, but the kitchen will be for kids and adults alike, and the potential for, it's adult date night at the Children's Museum, or, and I think that for us, I see professional development opportunities for child cares or school districts, field trip opportunities for the many school districts that are within a day's trip of being able to come and visit. And so while our population,
and again, that's another, Jamestown schools in a day, a field trip is certainly not out of the realm.
And and you can go either way. I mean, McKean County.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, all of our contiguous counties could be here for a trip in the day. And that's, while our population might be declining, there will always be, for the sake of a conversation, there's always going to be third graders. Right. So, if it's third grade that makes that trip every year, regardless of if the population's declining, third grade's still going to come and visit.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned third grade, right? Because we're sitting here in ironically enough, the DeFreeze classroom at the Warren Forest High Ed Council, and they do the Woodmobile trip out to the fairgrounds every year for our third graders.
Sure.
And now, how perfect would that be to, okay, hey, one day we're going to do, Woodmobile and all of those things. And then another day, maybe it's
the same day.
Maybe it's the same day.
Woodmobile parks in our parking lot.
Yeah. Or maybe it's second graders go to the Children's Museum and third graders go to the Woodmobile. And you see how all of those things tie in together.
And that's those opportunities in those neighboring school districts. But then maybe it's team building for your business. Like you've decided that, everybody's a little cranky. We need to do something as a team. You come out for the night. Adults are the ones that are going to get to go through the Children's Museum and, the Discovery Center and do the pieces. And there might be something that ties specifically.
You do a team building scavenger hunt. Hey, see if you can find, XYZ throughout your time here.
Speaking of scavenger hunts, Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, got to get our friends out in Forest County involved, right? Yeah.
The number of people that have asked us where Bigfoot fits. Yeah. We don't have an answer to that, but we are going to assure you that Bigfoot
will be there somewhere.
Yeah. But also he's good at hide and seek. Yeah. So
there you go.
But there's just so many. It is, whether it's team building or maybe it's adult date night.
Yeah.
And we're going to come do these things in the kitchen. We've got some staff out in the Discovery Center. Your babysitting price is built into your ticket price for the night. Because, so many people are so nervous about babysitters, and understandably so. But, those folks are going to have their clearances and their things, and they'll take care of the kid.
Yeah.
You're going to be in here learning how to make pasta.
Right, yeah.
And everybody's in the same building, but
different.
Yeah. So it'll ease some of those opportunity. Now there will also be some nights where we're probably not going to invite you to bring your children because maybe we're going to work with Geekies or Bet Run or Wicked Warren to teach you about some things, and we don't want to encourage.
We're going to learn how to ferment some things, maybe a little bit.
Ferment it, pair them. I don't know.
Maybe a class on the correct combination of hops and barley.
Farm to table.
There you go. Exactly.
But I think that conversation topic, it just, the possibilities are truly, so I guess at this point, people want to collaborate. Let's start some of those conversations because at some point things are going to start hopping.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be fun. I think when people can see that growth and the progress taking place, that'll be fun. But let's start these conversations about collaborating and how can we work together to benefit you, to benefit us, to benefit everyone? Because, I hadn't really thought about the hops part of it, but I really like that. So I'm writing that down when I get back. It's endless, and it's a family experience. It's not just, and I think for me, there's been lots of controversy over the name. We should keep Children's Museum in it. And for me, it was, when I think Children's Museum, I think 3 to 6, 3 to 7.
Yep.
And we want it to be more than that. We want it to be something that, there's some childlike features in there. There's going to be lots of whimsy. Whimsy is the thing, but we want the kids. You're bringing your 2-year-old, but your 12-year-old, we want them to still be engaged. Yep. And maybe they're in the maker space. Maybe they're coming for the kitchen. But then it's also a family thing where, we can do adult Easter egg hunts. We can do, maybe it's Friday night, we get the outside space. If it turns out to be big enough, we have some fires and a 2-piece band or something. And just, we want it to be something that it's not just the kids. We can appeal to adults too, because even as adults, we need to play. And if you're not going outside, because whatever.
Because, like this past week, it's been ungodly hot.
Right.
Who wants to be outside?
Right.
Yeah.
How can we offer something for adults to do as well, or teens, or just something that can benefit
something that knocks that there's nothing to do around here mentality down a notch.
Even if it's just a notch, then it's a win. And that's, it checks the boxes on the county's comprehensive plan. It checks the boxes on other municipalities' comprehensive plan. And that's, when we talk to employers, or even, COVID kind of brought this remote work world to the forefront. People came here to work, but then there was nothing to do.
Right. Well,
let's
get it going.
And that's, and if this is the piece that sparks just a little bit of positivity and growth.
If it becomes a domino that leads to, like I said, even just the coming to fruition of redeveloping ball fields at the farm colony, that's a win.
And I've talked about that from the time you said that to me the first time. I've talked to 3 or 4 other people about it, and everybody's like, dude. And I'm like, I know.
That's what I'm saying. Come on.
But just that little bit of, okay, it's not downtown, and we know that we've got some folks that are completely against us on that. But if we can grow the gateway to downtown and do the pieces, it only helps.
If it causes, let's say, the Hampton to be full on a given weekend, well, then where else are people going to go? Oh, well, there's, Days Inn, there's the Hazeltine, there's the Airbnbs that are popping up all over the county. They're also all of those things. Again, it all builds one upon the other. And again, you can't, nobody who is leading any of the proposed growth and development, whether it's at a municipal or a county level, should be looking at anything as though it is going to be independent of anybody else, because it's just not going to work.
It's just not. And that's, that has been our thing from the start, that we don't want to be an island. We don't see it as an island, but together. And honestly, if this is the piece that helps that natural water feature over at the Kmart building go away, and something happens over there, then that's a whole different celebration.
Exactly. Yeah.
And if that's the piece that then we're driving more business into town, because we are, hey, go to Matt Run tonight, go to Go For It. Here's your coupon. Do the thing. Like, where it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's what to be the piece to give families something to do, whether you are a local family, you are a family within 50 miles, or you are a family that's traveling from Pittsburgh or beyond. And we make those relationships.
You come up for hunting camp and you bagged your deer 10 minutes into deer season. All right, well, let's go.
Right? Let's go do the thing.
Let's go do something else. Hey, we've hit our limit. You come up for fishing. Hey, we caught our limit for today. Okay, we've done everything we're going to do with the fish. Let's go check out the children's or the Discovery Center.
You've come to kayak, you've come to do the things, and it's raining.
Right. Yes, exactly. We had that. My class reunion was a couple of weeks ago, and one of the things was going to be kayaking down the river, and it was at that point where it had been just rain after rain after rain, and it was too high and too fast. It wasn't safe. Well, now what do you do? Oh, well, now we've got options.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of those options, we would love to be able to work with Piper and them at Allegheny Outfitters on some video streams and some different pieces. We've got this Allegheny River section, which will have the water feature, but then there's going to be this is what you could find in our waters, sort of, microscopes, magnifying glasses, different pieces, but, to work with them and some of their videos that they get to be able to show, like, here's in real life, this is what it looks like.
Yeah, those underwater live streams, right?
Yeah, live,
appropriately, yeah. But I mean, those are fantastic and would be great. I mean, even if it's just short little, here's a a salamander, or here's frog eggs, or here's some
otter.
otters playing. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So there's just so much. The possibility, I mean, the numbers on it are tremendous when we start looking at $1 million positive economic impact yearly.
Yeah.
Just to the Warren County area, that's incredible. And when we start looking at the, we're talking the $7 to $10 million for the build, but the return on investment happens in the first 5 years.
Yeah.
It makes it hard to, and when we look at it, the folks from Strategy Solutions, when they did the surveys, they said that our survey response was exponentially greater than the Erie survey response when they did their surveys for their expansion. And we have less to do here than what Erie has to do. So if we're operating off of those numbers, even at 60%, we don't have as many choices here.
Right.
So let's just make it happen and give this community something to do. So here we are, here we're going, and it's not going to be easy, but I'm ready.
So if somebody sees this and they say, hey, this is something I'm excited about, I want to be part of it, I want to give financially, I want to give of my time, I want to volunteer, best way to reach out and do any of those things?
Best way to reach out is to just call the Jefferson DeFreeze Family Center. Right now we're just using the address at the JD and the phone number, 814-723-6350. We're using the mailing address. The phone number is everything right now, because without a building up there, we don't want to put a mailbox in the Market Street address. And while we explore the things, we do have a website, KinzuAreaDiscoveryCenter.org. We can be found there. We also have a Facebook page. And, if you're more comfortable reaching out through social media, reach out through the Facebook page. But I mean, the easiest way for someone that wants to call the Jefferson DeFreeze Family Center and go from there, and we'll get in touch. I mean, there's plenty of ways to support. And, while we've identified some of those key people, we don't know everybody. We don't know who this is going to speak to. And this is trying to appeal to the kids is something we haven't done much of in this county. So is there someone else out there that we don't know? Because I am certain that there is quiet money in this town. And if this really speaks to someone, let's have the conversation. We've identified some, but that doesn't mean that there aren't others. Not
everybody knows everybody, although it seems like it at times.
Well, at times.
At times it does. But,
and at times the world just gets
But there's always somebody else who knows somebody that this is right up their alley, right in their wheelhouse, and wants to take a big swing.
And it doesn't matter how big that swing is. If you want to have those conversations with us, we'll come have them with you. So I don't know. We're excited. I'm grateful for you taking the time too.
Oh no, hey, I'm amped up about. I can't wait to see this thing come to fruition. I'm so excited to see this, and this is exactly the kind of the positive growth that we need to see, not just in Warren County, but in the region as a whole. And I think this is a great first step towards seeing a lot of those things come to fruition. So I'm excited. I hope you guys do well. I hope somebody sees this and says, hey, I want to write that check. I want to volunteer my time. I want to make it happen. And
and that's really, right now everything is dependent on the dollars, and we're working on that game plan, but it's going to take the community to make it happen. And I'm excited to get started. I'm scared.
Well, hey, it's all right. That's all right. It's all right to be. You should be a little nervous. It's a big.
I don't understand. But, this is a lot of zeros. But I'm also determined, and it's something that has, it speaks to me. It speaks to so many, and let's just start something good.
All right. Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking some time. I know we went kind of long.
A little bit long. I'm sorry.
A little bit long this week. That's all right, because there's a lot to digest here. There's a lot going on, and all of it, in my opinion, is great for the future of Warren County and the region as a whole. And so I appreciate very much you taking some time, and we wish you nothing but the best and all the success, and any way that we can help facilitate that, we're more than happy to have those conversations as well. So And so I want to thank you guys for sticking with us for an extended episode of Coffee and a Conversation this week. Thanks again, Jen Madigan, Executive Director, Kinzua Area Discovery Center. And thank you guys all for watching. This is Brian Hagberg on your Daily Local.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, and have a great weekend.
Here at Casella, we make temporary dumpster rental easy, offering services that are perfect for construction, remodeling, special events, or other short-term projects. Casella dumpsters are available in a wide range of sizes to fit any job. Our dedicated customer service team will help you choose the right size container and service level for your project and schedule hassle-free removal based on your specific needs. The right size dumpster, when you want it, where you want it, removed when you say so.